Hello, how is everybody? Thank you so much for coming. Um, Hello, how is everyone? Thank you so much for coming to this National Geographic Learning Teaching Through Crisis series. So this is number 6 in the series. We've had lots of exciting speakers on talking about all sorts of refugee matters. We've had Paul Dummett on talking, giving an overview to teaching people seeking refuge. We've had Catherine Billsborough sharing some activities that teachers might want to use in classes just to raise awareness of refugee matters. We've had Alex Palinak talking about teaching trauma-informed practice and sharing her research on that. And we've also had Laura Agbaso sharing her lived experience of forced migration from Ukraine about 7 years ago and becoming an ESOL teacher in the UK. And we now, on Saturday, we had Emily Wilson from the Pandora Project and from the Elianos camp. And today we've got 3 guests, which is amazing, from the Amala project. And the reason for that is because Amala is global. It's there's 3 different, they've got Kenya and Jordan and Greece. And so we have Polly Akhurst, Rania, Dadoul and Holli Ghaisen from each of these from each of these contexts. So if you would just like to introduce yourselves and the Amala project, and thank you so much for coming on. Polly, would you like to start?
Yeah, so hi everyone, it's a pleasure to be here and thank you Emily for inviting us to be here to talk about our work with Amala. I'm Polly and I'm the co-executive director of Amala.
Okay, great. And Rania?
Yeah, thank you for hosting us, Emily. So my name is Rania. I work with the Jordanian team in facilitating the diploma program in Jordan.
Okay, great, thank you. And Holli?
Thank you so much, Emily. I'm the learning lead here at Kakuma, Kenya. So I lead the program here.
Okay, great, thank you. And would anybody want to share an overview of Amala in general and the background to the whole project?
Yeah, I can do that. So Amala was founded just under 5 years ago, and really in response to the lack of opportunities for young refugees, young people who are refugees. We work with the 16 to 25 kind of age group, so it's youth, and we found that there was a real lack of opportunity for refugee youth to complete their secondary education. Only a third of youth are able to do that at the moment, but also really in response to a desire that we saw from young people to be able to learn in a whole different number of areas and to develop their sense of agency and ability to impact their communities in the world as well. Okay. So we do 2 things. So our mission is to use the power of education to transform the lives of refugees, their communities in the world. And we have 2 programs. So we have our Changemaker courses, which are usually kind of 10-week-long courses on specific topics like ethical leadership, social entrepreneurship, and peace building. And then we have our diploma program, which is a 15-month program that allows refugee youth to finish their high school with Amala, which consists of 10 courses, a personal interest project, and a pathways advising program. And so it's that program that both Rania and Holli are running in Kakuma and in Jordan as well.
Okay, great. And so that's mostly for young adults. So what age group would you be working with?
So typically 16 to 25-year-olds, and we do have a few students who are a bit older, but yeah, so they will have kind of gone to primary education and had some education before coming to Amala, but usually for the high school diploma, they will have dropped out of their secondary education, potentially needing to work or support their families.
Okay, and they've dropped out presumably because they've been forced to leave their where they've settled.
There's a whole range of reasons, right? So I think Holli and Rania can explain a little bit more about how it works in different contexts, potentially.
Okay. Who would like to go first, Holli, Rania? Holli, you've got your sound on. You're not muted, so go for it.
Okay. Well, there are very many reasons as to why students don't get opportunities to actually pursue a high school. especially here in the camp, like in Kakuma refugee camp, which is in Kenya. You find that the number of students actually transitioning from primary school to secondary school is very low because we only have very few secondary schools in the camp. There are only 5, and we have around 21 primary schools. So you can see like all the graduates from the primary schools are unable to join the high school because the number is actually too big. And there are also some other many reasons, like students don't have the capacity to actually pay schools in maybe any of the Kenyan schools in case the ones in the camps are already filled up, so they don't have that capacity to actually pay school fees. And also you find that most of these students also are orphans, you know, where they come from, they just run and they find that they don't really have anyone to support them. So they have to work at home at the same time, go to school. So you find there's always a juggle of two things. The students want to go to study, but at the same time, the students is maybe like becoming a parent and a guardian to some other students. So you find like at the end of the day, the students will definitely drop out of school. There are very many other reasons here in the camp that actually make the students not to get that opportunities to go into the school. The strongest one, of course, is that lack of opportunities. These opportunities are for high school. There are few secondary schools, and there are very many learners who wants to join there, and they can only take their students with the highest grades. So even if you score a bit higher, and you are not to that capacity, you are unable to join. So that makes it all difficult.
Okay, so your students have a lot going on.
Yeah.
Very busy people.
Yeah.
It must be really hard to motivate them or to get them to focus in class.
Well, the Amala program itself enables the student to help themselves. We are able to help the students. Like if they have something to do in the morning, then we are flexible enough to enable them to come and study some hours in the afternoon. So this makes it very easy for the students to support themselves as well as study. So it makes our work also easy somehow.
Yeah, so it's all about just trying to find ways to support them as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Rania, is it similar in Jordan or?
Yeah, in a way it's similar. Like for Jordan, it's considered like a host community for refugees who flee their countries, like from different countries. So we have students from Syria, Iraq, Sudan, Somalia, Palestine, Yemen. So we have like a whole diverse class. And some of them didn't have the chance to complete their higher education, so they lost their chances. And when they came to Jordan, they had to provide their families, to take care of their families. And we have like mothers and fathers with us as students who are still motivated to pursue their education. So we try to support them as much as possible. Like Holly mentioned, we try to give classes on the weekends so that if they are working during the days or if they have like any other commitment with their families. And we have like the independent part of the program, which is the online part. So they do their tasks and homeworks and they collaborate with their colleagues online. And for the in-person part, it's usually like on weekends.
Okay. So yeah. And Polly, is it similar in Greece or?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is, the reasons are quite similar in Greece. I think in Greece, you see quite a lot of like unaccompanied minors. So people who have come on their own to Greece for all sorts of reasons. And I think the added thing in Greece, I would say, is that there's a big language barrier. So students going into the national education system, they would need to be learning in Greek, and a lot of people come with no Greek. So that's an additional barrier in that context as well.
Mm-hmm. So what language, Rania, you mentioned that you've got a very multicultural group of students. What languages, do you teach different languages, or what kind of languages do you teach?
So we teach in English, like our courses and curriculum are in English, but some students find difficulty in like communicating in English since they left out and drop out their schools. So they didn't complete their education. So it's a bit challenging for them to communicate in English. So like for this time, it was a challenge for us to reach out to students who can speak and communicate English well. So then we decided to launch like the diploma and launch an English course for the students who are still like challenged by communicating in English. So now in Jordan, we have running like the diploma. We already started with 25 students for the third cohort. And we have also like an English short course for 10 weeks for the students who are just like beginners in English, just like to get them like into the atmosphere and the community of Amala until they feel confident enough to communicate in English. Then they will be like transferred to the diploma program.
Okay, and what's in the diploma program? What subjects would you study? Or what
So we have like a variety of subjects that like help students who are interested and passionate in different like topics. So we mainly have like 10 courses that are running throughout 15 months. So we have courses in math, science, arts and cultures, peace building, ethical leadership, social entrepreneurship. So many different topics that interest the youth mainly. And in each of these courses, we have an end of course project in which like students collaborate together, they start to implement initiatives in their community, or they have an art project in which we have like an art gallery going on, and we invite people to come in and see like the students' work. So we help, like it's mainly student-centered, in which we help like all students who are passionate about a specific topic, they find themselves in that topic, and like we empower them in these topics.
Wow, okay. And is that a kind of local collaboration, so to get the local community involved, the art gallery idea?
So we try like to involve the local community from different organizations, their families even, and like for us in the selection day, we try to involve all the students and their families so that they get a sense of the community we have at Amala, because we believe that everyone should be involved in this transformative education, because we know that the impact is not only on the student, like they also impact the community around them. So it's really important to involve the local community as well.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, I totally agree. The whole getting the students out and about and using their language and meeting people is so crucial to improving their life chances and just building their social connections and so preventing isolation. And Holly, is it similar for you in Kenya?
Yes, absolutely similar. You find that here in the camp, like we have over like 8 different nationalities: Sudan, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. Like there are very many like nationalities around here. So that brings like different cultures together. And the good thing is that in most of these countries, like their language of instruction is also English. So you find learners coming with some English, so it makes it easy for us. But we have a challenge with students from especially the Great Lakes, the Congolese, who speak lots of French. So they come with knowing French. And good thing is that there are courses around the camp, English courses which are taught around the camp. So you find these learners, they're always motivated to first join the English courses, try to learn some English. Then when they come, they become so much competent. You find you now see that the learner is able to communicate what he has, like they are performing very well. Yeah, we are also trying to help them. Like I remember there's one student who joined. He was really struggling to connect sentences, like just connecting sentences and trying to make it really make sense. It was difficult for him. I used to like keep on supporting him, helping him, trying to direct him to different sites that he can use to improve on his English. But right now, I used to tell him, man, the way you start and now is different. Can you go back to your previous papers and just try to see? You can actually see by yourself that you have made a very huge improvement from where you started and to where you are. And this is all because like the Amala program like allows the students to like practice also writing and practice speaking in classes, outside classes. So this really boosts like the language and the fluency of the English language in students.
Yeah, it's so important to show learners the journey, isn't it? This is where you were, and this is how far you've traveled, and look how well you're doing now. Yeah, and Polly, is there anything else, anything similar in The diploma project program is the same in each country, is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So we've developed it to be consistent in each country. But obviously, Holli, Rania, and the many other facilitators kind of contextualize the content. So we provide the curriculum, but it's very kind of, the students are often looking at issues within their communities, using examples from within their communities. And the great thing about Rania and Holli being embedded in the community is that they can, customize it in that way.
Mm-hmm. Something lovely that Emily Wilson said in one of the other sessions was, don't reinvent the wheel, but take bits out and make the wheel what you want it to be. Yeah, swap out the bits that aren't necessary or that you want to be in there. So you teach young adults and various subjects. What approaches or activities would you use with the classes?
Maybe just to go first, like in the classes, like we normally use learner-centered approaches. So everything is actually within the learner's context. So like some of the activities that I normally use a lot, like discussions. You see, I get the learners involved in discussions, like. Get the learners also to watch some visuals, share some audios with them. So let them research and present their findings and try to learn a lot from each other. So those are some of the methods or activities that I always use in classes.
Okay. And Rania, do you have similar approaches?
Yeah, adding to what Holly just said, we are a student-centered approach in which students go and gather the information and find the answers by themselves. So we're not the source of information. That's the difference between a teacher and a facilitator. So we're just facilitating the dialogue that's happening in the classroom, and we're having different inputs from different people who came from different backgrounds. So it's really interesting to witness that dialogue happening around. And with us not being the center of attention, we're just guiding the students towards learning and finding the answers. But mainly the students, they go and discover by themselves. I want to share more one of the approaches that we use is that we don't spoon feed them. So sometimes we have this project or something. So we tell them go by yourself, go search, make a survey, go make interviews with your community, and then share your findings with your colleagues. So it's really interesting, this collaborative environment where students are the center.
Yeah, and it's so valuable getting the learner autonomy and supporting their confidence and their study skills by doing that.
Yeah, and they also take part in developing the curriculum itself. Because Polly mentioned, we sometimes go around the curriculum so that it fits in our context and community, but also the students participate in that through surveys that we make at the end of each course. So the students have the space to share, what activities they liked, where they can see areas of development. So also the students are involved in the educational development.
Okay, that's great approaches.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Polly, would you like to add anything from the Greece context?
Yeah, I mean, maybe just because I think what we hear generally is that, students usually come from education systems that maybe where they have been given a lot of knowledge and where the teacher is in quite a traditional role. And so we often hear, the students, they're very quiet in the beginning, they're shy is something that we commonly hear. And I think we see a huge difference between the beginning of the program and even I would say, I think Holli and Rania would agree, a few months into the program or even a few weeks where, students are getting used to presenting their ideas, expressing their opinions, being, as Rania said, in discussion, and the impact that makes on their confidence and ability to speak up is incredible. So yeah, I think that those pedagogies really, they're designed to support the development of agency, and they're really doing that.
Yeah, it can be so. I think I've been guilty of it myself, spoon feeding my learners, certainly when I was probably less experienced as well. And it can kind of be quite debilitating for them if you're doing everything for them. So it's such a refreshing and important approach, and it works clearly.
Yeah.
So
Just to
yeah.
add, yes, to add on what just Polly have just said, like here in the like in Kenya, like the kind of educational system that we are using, like the teacher is always the master of the knowledge. Like the teacher tells you what to do. The teacher like gives you and you find like even in the national examinations, there is always a set way in which you are supposed to answer questions. So they expect you to answer it this way. So you go contrary to that, to how it is supposed to be answered, even with a comma or what, you are like, you fail. But with this system, like it actually frees the learner, like it frees the learner, the mentality of the learners, and enables the learner to become an independent thinker. So the learner is now thinking creatively on how he can do something, and this promotes the sense of actually problem solving within the communities. That's why you find the learner, all our learners like have the urge to try to see what they can they do, like how creative can they be in certain environment. Like you find even now we have an orientation going on right now. You find when we are deploying our approach, some of the learners will be like, how am I going to do this? Because the teacher usually teach me first, then like I do it. Now how am I going to do it? But you find that with time the learners will get used to now the approach of actually them taking charge of their learning and try to research more, and just the facilitator will just be there to guide them and enable them to think creatively and become an independent learner, actually, not to depend on someone solely, of which it can translate to what they're doing in the real life. They will always want someone to show them what to do this or so. That's all. Thank you so much.
Yeah. It's such a great way to get more ideas as well, because if you put it out to your learners, then you've got all these different heads that can come up with great ideas that maybe as a teacher you might not have thought of. I often find that when the students are given the autonomy to do that, you're like, oh, that's such a great idea. Thank you so much.
I might add, yeah, yes, Polly.
Go, Rania, then I'll go.
Yeah, so I just want to clarify some parts of our program, like the diploma program. So like we said, like it's not a traditional way like it's happening in the schools. So it's mainly like we don't have any exams, we don't have any tests or a marking system, which is like fascinating to find like this type of education. Instead, we have like a competency-based type of education. So we have like this set of different competencies that we saw that it's important for the students to learn in their like own lives. Like some of them sustainable innovation, problem solving, leading change, resourcefulness. So these like are different competencies. So what the students are trying is to show us how they improved and progressed towards achieving these competencies. So they provide us what we call artifacts or evidence of learning. And they tell us, okay, this is a piece of work for me where I demonstrate how I learned this specific skill. And we as facilitators, we start like going through these pieces of work. We help them by giving them feedback. So we don't just like reject or accept it. No, we try to give them like developmental feedback in which they can build on this work, and then they submit that work. And finally, when they have like a finalized profile or like they gain the digital transcript, and then by that transcript, they can start applying to universities who accept like this type of learning.
Okay, great. So they progress onto university afterwards, and that's so good. And you mentioned you refer to you keep referring to facilitators rather than teachers. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, so like we mentioned before, a teacher is like the center of class, but here like the center of class is the students. So you can imagine a circle of students just like having a dialogue with each other, and we're just like in the background in the corner, like just stepping in and stepping back when needed, and just observing what's happening in the class in order to build in a reflection to see what we have learned. And also like it doesn't stop there. So our role is also outside the classroom, where we support students with their independent work, with their evidencing of learning process. And we sometimes give them coaching sessions because, as we mentioned, some other students have like other commitments during their week. So we try to help them to manage their time, to achieve their goals, and to take care of their own well-being. So we just like try to like give them the full support that they need inside and outside the class.
Okay, and how would you support student well-being? Because that's been quite a big issue and quite a big theme throughout this Teaching Through Crisis series has been student well-being, teaching with trauma-informed practice. What kind of tips and advice would you give there?
So first we have like this tracking system of the students' performance where we start tracking the students, how they are doing inside the class. And when we notice that some students like need more help than others or more support, so we try to schedule with them one-on-one meetings to just check on them to see like how they are doing in the class, outside the class, if they need any support, any help from our side. And then like if they need extra help, like mental support, or anything else, we have like this support system that we try to connect them to different organizations that might like help us in their area of expertise.
Okay, great. And Holly, do you have anything that you want to add to that?
Not really. Rania just said exactly what we are doing. So.
Okay, great. And Polly, anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, this comes from the fact, as you said before, Emily, like our students have a lot going on in their lives. Their lives are not easy. They will be, you know, likely experiencing financial pressures, family issues, many things. And so I think it's really important that, you know, the facilitators also play this well-being role, and we see facilitators kind of going above and beyond. And I think, you know, in Kakuma, Holly, I think we heard, you know, that you had visited, there are female students who unfortunately get pregnant at some point during the program, and so the facilitators have been going to the houses of students who are getting pregnant, who are later on in the pregnancy, to support them with their work, and engaging with the families to make sure that, you know, when it's possible, they can come to class. And so I think the commitment of facilitators to well-being, because of the understanding of the context, is really, really strong.
Yeah,
and important. It's crucial also
super
for them.
important. Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, and are there any kind of differences between the camps? So obviously it's 3 different countries in terms of funding and maybe the visa processes that students need to go through, maybe if they're planning an onward journey to somewhere, or what kind of differences are there from that kind of perspective? Or is that too hard? I'm not sure who to put that to, really. That might be more for you, I suppose, probably, if there's like differences. I think you mentioned things like can students work? And I know that maybe in some places they maybe don't have the right to work, in other places they do.
Yeah. So there are different regulations in different countries around the rights that refugees have, and so yeah. So in some contexts they are allowed to work. In some countries, you know, refugees cannot even go to school. I know that that's Malaysia. They're not allowed to go to school. In both Jordan and Kenya, they are technically allowed to go to school, but obviously there are some limitations there around until when or until what age they're able to register and that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, maybe Holly and Rania can explain a bit about the different kind of legal context of refugees in Jordan and Kenya.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
So I can share for Jordan. So like currently we're not working with any refugee camps. It's a bit critical and challenging for us to like enter a refugee camp, and we need specific permits. And even like for students to go outside the refugee camp, they also need permits. So we had just one student who was like going back and forth, like it's in different cities, the camp, and in the capital city, Amman. So it's really challenging to work with refugee camps. So that's why, like, for the moment, we are working in the capital city of Amman. We're trying to reach out to refugees who live in the city. But like for the future, we want to expand and like reach out for refugees who are residing in different cities. And as for the permits, like I'm going to say for the work permits in Jordan, it's really challenging for refugees to work. Because they need like a specific work permit, and it's really expensive. So usually like the workers, they don't like prefer hiring any refugees. They just prefer like for the Jordanians, and it's really expensive. Like you need, like both sides need to pay for this work permit. So it's really challenging to work in Jordan for a refugee.
Okay, difficult. And Holly?
Yeah, I think the situation in Jordan is quite similar with here in Kakuma. There are always restrictions. like if you want to travel from from the camp to any of the towns within Kenya, you must have like a permit to enable you to move around the country. And if you want to if there's an opportunity to go abroad or somewhere else, there is also like a CTD, like it's a conventional traveling document that they give to the refugees, and this is always facilitated by UNHCR. So UNHCR will help you to process that, and sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not that easy. It depends on the organization that you're working with. If it is pushed by the organizations, it's a bit easy. But personally, it's very tough for any refugee to get the CTD. With regards to work, here in the camp, like the refugees are only allowed to volunteer, regardless of whether you are qualified or you are always just like working as a volunteer. So you will, at the end, you will get incentives, of which are less than I think $130, less than that. So they always limit refugees to that. For some who get like a permit to work, of which is very difficult, just like Rania said, it's really very difficult to get those permits. And it's only few maybe who work with UNHCR, like volunteering with UNHCR, the UN volunteers are the ones who actually like getting some permits to work. But overall, like there's no actually like any work which is supposed to be done by the refugees, but just to volunteer, regardless of your qualifications, whether you have a PhD, a bachelor's, or whichever qualification you have, you just like get some few incentives.
Yeah, so similar in the UK, I guess asylum seekers are not allowed to work. So if you're in the UK and you're kind of applying for your visa to stay, or you're applying for your leave to remain to stay, then you're not allowed to work. But once you get your leave to remain, you have access to the benefits system and you are able to start working then. So yeah, and in Greece, Polly, how would it work there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of quite similar in terms of not being allowed to work, and until you get status. If you get status, I don't think that actually happens that often.
Mm-hmm.
And I think refugees are, again, they're technically allowed to enter into Greek schools, I believe up to the age of 16. I'm not entirely familiar with all the guidelines, but you know, yeah, there are similar challenges, I think, around rights generally and the right to work specifically. And obviously Greece, there are camps, but a lot of refugees are also based in city areas like Athens and Thessaloniki as well. So there's both, you know, the kind of camp situations and the urban situations that you'll find in Jordan and in Kenya as well.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, I've kind of run over a bit this time because, well, there's 3 of you. So I wanted to give it a bit more space. So I don't want to like definitely stop at past. So is there anything else that you would like to share? I was just thinking there, so what are the goals of most of your students? Well, not most of them, because obviously they're not the same people, but what are the typical goals that your students would maybe have? Do they have onward journeys planned, or what do they want to do?
Well, like my students or our students here in Kakuma have different goals. Like some are planning to like continue with their education beyond the Amala High School diploma. Others want to start up their businesses. Others would want to like start up their maybe a CBO, community-based organization, and others would want to work in various organizations within the camp. So they have very different plans, of which we are actually helping them in the Amala Pathways program and the PIP program. So the two programs actually help the students to pursue what they are passionate about beyond the Amala High School diploma. So the pathway is just there to help them to transition into whichever things they have chosen beyond the Amala High School.
Yeah. So the diploma is so learner centered that it can help them do whatever that they're planning on achieve, whatever their goals are.
Yes.
Rania?
You
Oh,
find,
sorry.
you find that some of our students are already like are doing what they're passionate about. Like within the program, you find some students are already like have already started a CBO or a project that is already running before they even complete. So upon completion, they can just go and now and focus more on their project and improve on their project. Some students are already like getting employed after joining the program. So you find like it enables them to get the job that they were actually looking for, because like they are able to express themselves, they are able to like to really convince the employer as to why they are qualified for that job. So in as much as some are still planning for what they do or want to do, others are already actually doing what they really wanted before.
Yeah, great. It sounds so rewarding to see people succeeding. And Rania?
Yeah, I might elaborate more on what Holly said. So we have mainly 2 other programs other than the classes that are running. So we have the Pathways program, in which we provide workshops throughout the diploma program. Like some of them are CV writing, how to write a cover letter, how to look up for opportunities to apply for universities. And we have another part of this, which is like individual support for the students. So we try to sit down with them to see where they are heading, what are their dreams, and how can we support them in finding opportunities, in reaching out to different partners and organizations. So we try to personalize their journey based on their interest and passion and where do they see themselves. And another part that Holly mentioned, which is the PIP, Personal Interest Project. So at the end of the diploma, the students have to present like their final project or their graduation project in which they worked on something that they are passionate about, they are interested in. So some of them started their own initiatives, their own business, or they wanted just to develop a skill that will help them to get like employment opportunities. So, and they present at the end of the diploma program. We have like a presentations day in which each one like presents the project that they have been working on for months. And we try to help them and support them by like regularly checking on them to see like what progress they have made regarding their projects.
Okay, it's so practical. All the things that you're talking about, just keep it really practical, keep it very focused on the learner's needs. It's wonderful. Yeah. Polly, do you have anything to add before maybe we wrap up?
I mean, I think Holly and Rania have given such a good summary of kind of like all of the different parts of the diploma program and the aspirations and the diversity of our learners, really. And I guess, you know, that's to say that I think there is no one goal of students on our program, and I think many of them in some way want to be able to pursue their education in whatever form that takes. A lot of them are very entrepreneurial as well, and I think we're kind of thinking about, okay, how can students be making an impact not at some point in the distant future but now. And so all of the project work that they do, everything that they do in the personal interest project, and trying to link that to pathways, it's a pathway to agency, it's a pathway to impact today. So I think that's the real strength of it.
Yeah, such wonderful work you're all doing. Well done. And yeah, so I think there's a fundraising link in the main event page on Facebook, on the Facebook Live. Do you want to tell us a bit about the fundraising?
Yeah, I mean, of course. So there are obviously lots of different ways to support Amala. If you're interested in what you've heard from today, then we do encourage you to write to us if you want to support in any way. And obviously we are a non-profit organization, so we are funded by philanthropic funds, and so any kind of amount that if you want to donate, we would be extremely grateful for. And there are different options on that page that is in the main page.
Cool. I think somebody from National Geographic Learning has posted that in the comments as well, so have a look for it in the comments too. Okay, thank you all so much for coming on. It's been absolutely wonderful. I've learned loads and feel quite inspired now, so thank you. And So this there will be more coming in this series of Teaching Through Crisis. So keep an eye on the National Geographic Learning Facebook page, and have a look on the Teaching Through Crisis website that National Geographic Learning have set up. There's some lesson plans on there, some resources, and we'll be putting all the Facebook Lives on there too, and adding more resources as we go. It's a work in progress. So yeah, thanks so much for coming, everybody, and especially to Holli, Rania, and Polly. You've been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Rania and Holly. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.